Susan Dyer was born clairvoyant and merged with the Unnamable in a 2017 near-death experience. Susan now empowers awakening women via spiritual mentorships, inspirational speaking, and her Facebook community, Divining Women. Her work has been published in Dance Magazine, Folio, Burning Wood, Literary Journal, Evening Street Review, and more. Welcome so much, Susan. We're glad that you made it.
Thank you, Trisha.
Yes.
I am really grateful to be here. And I'm sure everybody knows who's watching. These two are amazing, totally genuine, totally love-based, no fear. So I feel very, very blessed to be here.
Oh, and I feel incredibly blessed to have all of the guests, and you too, Susan. You remind me of those rainbow children who come in with so much clairvoyance and so much knowing at such a very young age. And I'm just going to summarize a little bit about what I know about you, as an added introduction. I wrote an intro to your book. You're such a lovely writer. And you really have this amazing story. We don't have time for it all, so I'm going to summarize, if you would just tell us what it was like briefly to be born as clairvoyant as you were, and how you made sense of that, in a religious family, and then jump right into your near-death experience.
Sure, I would love to. First, I want to say you're giving me way too much credit, because I did come in here kind of what I've heard a phrase called top down. And typically a more natural awakening is bottom up, so that it kind of develops as you grow and as you're able to have context and make sense of it. However, there are some people who were just shot right in here wide awake. I mean, I guess wide awake, but I feel like that's not accurate, because I didn't know what it was. And to me, being born clairvoyant, it was the thing that shaped the rest of my life, because I would just tell you, I was terrified all of the time, and I didn't know what anything it was around me that no one else could see. And you can watch 100 movies and see 100 different kinds of clairvoyance. And I don't know if the people who write those movies have spoken to clairvoyance, but it's just like anything else. Like, we're all one, but we are role playing like a unique snowflake. And so personally, just with all the women I've worked with, and I've worked with so many women with every single kind of gift you can think of, and they're all different. So for me, my clairvoyance it's in my third eye. So I'll sometimes be shown like a Polaroid flash or a clip of a movie. But mostly it is as if you put a gel over a spotlight, and it colors the everything. It's almost like there is a neon sheer gel over my eyeballs, and there is, it's like, I don't know how many dimensions, or I mean, there's so little I know. But the thing is, I have been so blessed, because I did face this. I did know as a kid, there has to be a reason for this, even though I was afraid. So I stuck with that thought, but the religion element for me personally, and I know so many people who have found religion to be an utter lifesaver. I love that. I was in a particularly strict religion that was very black and white, and I am like the biggest squiggle ever. And I live in DC. So, I'm just like, I fling around here like a hummingbird. People kind of look at me in the grocery store. I kind of toned down today for us to look a little professional. But usually I'm in like 10 colors and just like watching everything else that everyone can't see. And there was a spirit, kind of like Pigpen had a cloud behind him. There was one spirit. And for some reason, God at least threw me a bone. I'm just kidding. God's not like that, right? But and I did know they were spirits, but one was opaque and crimson and very slow. I could not, it was like a microwave boxed crimson rectangle that just followed me. It was like, right, I knew it was like right up there every day. And that really misinformed my self-image. I thought that was Satan. And that's because we have limited resources as children. I guess together with the fact that I was an only child, my parents were everything to me. And they dismissed me harshly. And the undertone, like as an empath, was, you're not seeing that, it's not real. And then Scared Susan took that as, I'm especially broken and crazy. So there's a term, masking, I've heard a lot lately. I have been aggressively masking since kindergarten, and I've hated myself since kindergarten. Because I felt like if anyone were to find out who and what I was, I would like keep a list of places where if my parents reached their endpoint, I could sleep under the stairs at the library, like anywhere. I'd be keeping track of like, if I'm disowned, where can I go to safely sleep? Which turned into, over the decades, I hate myself. I am unlovable. And because of all of that fraudulence, that is exactly what I drew into my life. So I basically was just a string of self-loathing induced rock bottoms. To be very honest, I've never said this, but I've been into the hospital 3 times. And my parents kept saying, we need to get your meds right. And I just felt like, but for what? And, I had my mom finally take me to an eye doctor in high school. I begged her. And honestly, it was weird. I was like, I need to know there's nothing wrong with my eyes. I didn't tell her that, but she did agree, and she took me. And he was like, your eyes are fine, which to me kind of validated, well, okay, I think the world is we are less than a grain of sand. It's like it's that's kind of what I took from that, but it didn't help. I ended up marrying.
I want to take you back though, because I know that the entity behind you was Archangel Michael, and many
I forgot to say that. Thank you, Trisha.
Many rainbow children come in with angels and archangels protecting them on this journey, and so
like a football league. Yes, absolutely. And thank you for saying that also, Trisha, because many people don't know that Archangel Michael loves watching over, and this is just my extrasensory language. Please do not take any of this as a fact. Like I've seen Archangel Michael as a microwave crimson block. I've seen him as a humanoid with a gender, but like he knows I can't deal. Like he never shows me a sword or anything, because I'm like, okay, we know you don't have a sword, right? But most of the times I see archangels as room tall ovals, and there'll be a primary oval color, which gives me a sense. And then the slim outer rings of the you know, the slim outer ring colorings are that, you know, I have a system I've developed over the decades to know what's going on. What is that? Who is that? What kind of being is that? And Archangel Michael presented as crimson because I had become so scared. I didn't know I did this, but there's something for any one of you who are clairvoyant. I'm like, this is the one thing I've actually found on the internet. But I saw it, and there's something called your horror line, which is almost like a divine spine. You know, it looks like a laser beam shish kebab, you know, enters in our crown chakra and then exits through our root chakra and anchors us as infinite ethereal beings. It anchors us literally like a tether to this very dense and heavy vibration, this you know, earth. And so I had broken mine. I felt so unsafe. And he presented it as crimson because traditionally, I say traditionally because my root chakra is platinum, you know, but that is typically the color of a root chakra. And when I grew up, he knew, obviously there's no time. So he was actually helping me, because when I was older, when I would develop and study and, you know, journal and look for patterns, I would develop this system, and being crimson 40 plus years later made sense. So yeah, for all of us, it doesn't have to be just your extrasensory, but like I will say one thing, and this is so comforting. And Mary Magdalene said this to me. She said the deeper you fall, the higher you're expected to fly. And that doesn't mean like a punitive higher self or God being like, you better learn from these mistakes and then launch and help the world. It's not like that. It's actually from the point of view of you, capital IU, your higher self, who perfectly architected this life that can be very difficult for sensitive people. And so I just want to say to anyone who has suffered a lot of trauma or illnesses, especially autoimmune illnesses or long-standing disabling illnesses or just abuse, I'm telling you right now, those are your roadmaps to your unique gift to the world. If you can trust and seek to face those things. That's why, you know, I believe we are here. And that's what I learned when I died. But I guess, am I okay to jump ahead? I don't know if you wanted to ask anything.
Yeah, no, that's actually, it's perfect. And I'm so glad that you just said what you said.
Okay,
That's
good.
wonderful. But yeah, let's kind of jump ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please also, I can talk because you guys are my people. I'm like, hi, I love you all. You're my friends. You don't even know me. Who's this crazy lady? But I love you. Please cut me off, hurry me up, rewind me, whatever. I ended up having, first of all, to get sober in 2000. Without that, and I will say, so many active alcoholics and drug addicts who do not get sober. That's one way to kind of like, there's one way to break through the membrane. And if there's anyone here watching today who's struggling with alcohol or drugs, I have no judgment. I would black out almost every day. I had to. It was a way to like astral travel during the day, you know, like get me out of here. And I want to tell you, I love you and you are so loved. And I used to think, I don't want God to see me. God sees you. He is you. He loves the you know what out of you. And there is no shame in any challenge any of us are facing. But with my self-loathing, I did get sober. Thank you, thank you. And if I hadn't, we wouldn't be here. I'd be dead by now. And so that was, for me, the baseline, looking back, the baseline situation that I was going to need to face instead of hide in, which I did. However, I ended up with somebody who was helping me, who was very, very abusive. And when you're desperate and you don't understand yourself, and when your brain is fried, I couldn't even read, Trisha, when I stopped drinking. And I know, and this is public or whatever, but Stephen King wrote Misery. Nurse Ratched was alcohol. He was so afraid that if he did stop drinking, he wouldn't be able to write. Thank God, actually it helps everything. So I ended up an abusive, narcissistic a person who helped me, which conditioned me to think that was normal, along with the reactions of my teachers and my parents and my sexually abusive priest. So from that place, I married someone who I was to later understand was a sociopath. And I still maintain this. I don't know if my guys are gonna like roll their eyes, but I would still rather be naive than bitter and jaded and I don't know, so it was a terrible marriage. And I mean, so by what I did, I was so afraid to be rejected in any way again that I lost myself. I was stamping down my intuition, like with both feet jumping, like holding a weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see this. I don't see this, like all of it. And there was all of it. And there were many volumes of all of it. And I became that frog that was slowly boiled, to the point right before I discovered all of the truth of this. My best friend like whispered, like lovingly, was like, Susan, like, you look like you're homeless. And I was like, what? I'm like, this is the best I've got. This is my A game. What are you talking about? I'm like, and I look back now, I'm like, load me up, people. Color, makeup, jewelry, yay, fun, And it was so true. And I went to counseling after this marriage blew up, and I couldn't answer my favorite color, my favorite food. Those are things that in kindergarten. I was literally like a husk. And my body, also, this is important, especially for empaths. My body tried telling me, because my body was like, we're running out of time here. My organs started falling out. Can I say medical terms here? I don't know. But
Yes, you can.
I can't. Okay. Because this is not meant to be lewd, but my several of my important, like my bladder, and it was getting I don't even remember the other ones, and also with my colon, a lot of organs or whatever you call actually started prolapsing out of my body. My body was like, what do we have to do to this girl to get her to see what is going on and to acknowledge it? And I had to have the most invasive, like bedridden surgery that like is reserved typically for people who are 80 plus and above. And as soon as I healed from that, I found what I needed to know about my husband, and it was 12 plus years of writing that to me affirmed, like with a hammer nail into coffin, it affirmed every single distorted piece of identity I had about myself. Like, I am unlovable. I am useless. The only reason anyone would ever speak to me would have to do with my parents. I am disgusting. I'm terribly ugly to the point where I have, I was in a marriage. I think we were intimate 3 times to have our 2 children. And there was over 10 years there where we were not. And I just thought it was because of me. And that wasn't enough, because obviously I couldn't be, okay, I'm now detached from this person, but still hating myself. How is that going to help our collective? And so the next part came where I got chronic Lyme. And I was paralyzed. I was nerve pain. I had a port stint, I don't know, medical. I try to stay away mentally from medical things, but like I wore a fanny bag, and now Lululemon has cute fanny bags, by the way. Yeah, that was not happening when I got my Lyme disease. I had the nerdiest medical fanny bag with balls of IVs of antibiotics, and I was on a walker for a long while. And I will say one thing, I have never been more touched by our collective ever. I saw the most loving core. I saw the divinity in everybody with that walker. I wrote a short story about it. I was so shocked. I thought people would not look at me. I had a man, and I mean like a dad, I know. It's like that was probably my neighbor's dad, like offer to get my car. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, everyone said I was dying. I was like, I'm not dying. No. Until one morning, August 11th, right in the middle, for those of you who follow the stars, in the Lion's Gate, which is like a very powerful alignment with Earth, our sun, the planet Sirius, which a lot of us have experience with, and the galactic sun. A lot of people who are on the precipice during the Lion's Gate every summer. I'm talking about like on the precipice, not like having a hard time, but like me, like I was either going to be like, bye, I can't do this anymore, or I was going to stay. So you'll see, if you look in August, shifts happen in August because people take their exits, or they come back and they're like, who are you? Right. So I know I was going to die. I was so excited. The kids weren't there. I had tried to get my dad took me a Lyme doctor in the morning. Lyme doctor kicked us over to the ER. The ER was like, nothing's wrong with you. Your heartbeat's just tacky. And I was like, okay, yeah, again, this is what I was thinking. Again, no one's believing me. Why? Like, why? It's like, I'm well educated, well cultured. Why does this is the thing, this is my narrative, like no one ever believes me, like no one believed me about my husband, like, and I know my parents never believed me, like, about anything, not just clairvoyance. And so I just felt like I was like, why am I here if it's almost like I'm invisible? But I know what's gonna die, and I was just so relieved. I was making like food. My kids ate PB&Js for like 6 months, that I would army crawl to the floor, make them on the floor, leave them out on the floor, and they could just like come and get them as they wanted them. And I was like proud of myself. And so I was crawling up the stairs like, oh, give me my pen. I'm so excited, and then I got a little spitball from my guides, and they were like, Susan, you have one more chance tonight to get you have one more chance tonight. You have to get out of your body and get help. And I literally stopped, and I like turned around, sat down. I was like, what? I was like, I don't know how to astral travel on command. I was like, I don't know how to do that. What are you talking about? And they said, we'll tell you how. And I'm like, out, mic drop. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I was like, okay, because I had already promised myself for my kids, I would do anything. I would leave no stone unturned before dying, or I would never be able to live with myself. So I was like, okay, went upstairs, got into bed. They told me I was waiting. I was like, I'm here. And they didn't tell me what to do. Terrified, totally terrified. They said, lay literally like on the edge of the mattress, like to the point where like I was like, okay, if I twitch, I'm going to fall on my face on the floor. I mean, that's a lot of information. I hear things, but like they come with like a big old paragraph of like subtext that's not said. But so I was like, well, I guess at this point, who cares if I fall out of my bed? So I did that, and they said, when you're half awake and half asleep, hypnagogia heaven, man, that is the most sacred time for any of you. And that's why so many beginners who are awakening will be like, oh my God, I just heard my name. Like right when I woke up. It's like, that's right. Because that is the time we are most in spirit. Our ego is hazy and tired, right? And we're like, what? And we're so much more accessible to our guides and God and our higher self. So just know that you can do a lot of work. You can ask 1,000 times for help for the same thing in 15 minutes as you're falling asleep. No one will ever be annoyed with you, and it will only be embraced and responded to. The thing is, we just have an idea usually of what that's going to look like, and then we're like, wait, we just got to trust, right? We're not supposed to know how everything's going to work. And I got out of my body, freaking out, because I'd never had like a mission before. I'd always just like flown around, and like one time I did try to go check on my very good looking neighbor, and then my older self, I was like, oh, you're looking pretty good, actually. I had like my bun from a ballerina days. Anyway, she like slapped me back on my body and just was like, no. But that was when I was not married. Just want to clarify. And I was like, come on. It's like little something happy, but so I was out of my body, and then I was like, where am I going? Like, what, hello, and then it occurred to me growing up, I had always, like, I've seen so many portals, and they're always by my bed, my headboard. And they would scare, oh my God, they scared me so badly. Okay, I watched Buck Rogers and Lost in Space and Doctor Who. I know what a portal is. It's where monsters come out. Come on, like that's what, and I would see that like often, and I would run. Not to mention, like, I've also been and am very frequently visited by other beings. That's different later, but, and so like, they're in my room, like, so it's not like seeing a portal it'd be out of the question to assume a being was coming. I did not know until this moment. I was the one, while falling asleep, who was manifesting those portals, and the color of the portals for me, not for anyone else, I don't know. For example, Doreen Virtue helped me so much. Just in like, when I had this, after the dark night of the soul of my husband, I thought I was clairvoyant, right? But then when I came out of that dark night, I was seeing through my arm. I walked into my son's room, and there was an African-American man like opaque as like this, and his head's in his lap, and I knew he wasn't real. He was dressed in like tribal, but he didn't smile. And you know what I did? Ran out of the room and shut the door. And then I'm in the hallway being like, Susan, what are you doing? You're supposed to run into the fire and get your kid out. Like, I was like, what is wrong with me? I was so scared. But anyway, he was gone when I know him now, and he's amazing and he's beautiful. And
But let's
whatever.
focus on what happened now that you left the body in this experience.
Thank you. Needed that. Okay. My portal was so ugly. My least favorite color is black. And my portal was like a swirling, churning, charcoal, dirty pit. And I was like, is this a joke? Like, I mean, really, I was like, I've never seen a non-gorgeous, beautiful color. So I was like, whatever, why, maybe that's how you get there. Maybe I thought it was supposed to be lit up, whatever. So I had to take my astral body, and like, it was going so fast. It was like a subway train if it was going at the speed of light. So I kind of like angled myself in, and then boom, I was floating. I don't think this is my astral body anymore. This is a theory. I think we have finer and finer and finer bodies. I don't think my astral body like could have gotten wherever the heck I went. I think I was astral by my bed, and then I had telescoped out to like my pantyhose thinnest layer. And I was in what people call the void, which is actually, yay, because I was so scared. It's actually, if you want to consider yin yang, whatever, that's Mother God. I call her Saya. It is the next place of expansion for Father God to manifest. And I didn't know that.
I want to
What was
ask you.
that?
I want to ask you something because I heard it on another video, and I think it's kind of beautiful. You explain the void as the divine feminine from which everything emerges, and that makes a lot of sense to me. That because people earlier have talked about the void and in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was so afraid of the dark just from growing up, but and I was there too, which was great because it worked out for me. But it's, if you think about it, and there are some philosophies or religions, like I have a friend, this is terrible, I don't know exactly what his, but we talk about things, and I'm like, look, I really believe like the void is a womb. It's like where the next divine manifestation, like where that prime consciousness that goes by many names, like next manifest.
So what happened after the void now?
So I said, God, please take me somewhere safe and good. And I closed my eyes that weren't really my eyes and couldn't close. And before I said, no words. Okay. As before I said, I was with God. I call him by lots of names, but we'll just say God for convenience, if that's okay. I was like, okay, I'm in that place of infinity and timelessness and instantaneousness and oneness. It was probably before I even ended the syllable G that I was with God. The way God presented to me is tailor-made for me, just as everything we see and experience is tailor-made for you. And God, that makes me want to barf, like whatever, but we have to talk. It's God manifested as diagonal, very like beautiful, like stripes of blazing golden light. Like, and I thought to myself, my eyes would be like those old drug commercials, like a frying egg on the sidewalk if I was in my body, you know. But he, like, the first thing he thought at me, I guess, is like a, it's like, or that I received, is like, again, no time. The question was just, it was in me. It was, do you want to stay here or do you want to go back? I freaked out, threw up a huge IMAX sized photograph of my boys. And I said, God, no. I was just looking for some help. I'm like, I didn't know we were talking about God. I was just looking for somebody to give me like a boost, like a Pac-Man eats a cherry. Like, I don't, what? No, I got to go back. And I was so conditioned to be unbelieved. I was like, turn my back on God. And I was like, I got to show him or he's not going to believe me. So I started yanking like hand over hand on my cord. Which is, I didn't like notice what color it was. It was light color, I guess. Anyway, and I remember thinking, what are you doing? Like, we don't know where we are. We're with God. Where's God? I don't think it's a zip code. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't know how long this is going to take me. And I hope he helps me, because I don't really want to do this, because I don't know if I'm like 1,000 years away from my house, or like I could be like 10 inches above my body right now. And so he got it, and we were back together, and I knew so much at one time, floating like a tea bag in God. First thing I knew, and these were the thoughts that God made sure I remembered to take home. I could have just killed 10 people right now. This is going to sound maybe not fair or unstable. I'm telling you, Hitler, like, he had a fractal Archangel Michael in him. There is no one here, even the worst serial killer, who is not God. So I could have been dripping with blood, having just killed 10 people. Be there. The feeling of unconditional love, which, again, controversial maybe, is not possible here. It's always relational. If something happens somewhere, like even if my child murdered someone, I would love them, but I would still go into self-centered drive, like, oh my God, what are they going to say about me as a mother? Do you see what I'm saying? This was, I could have just killed 10 people and was dripping with blood and floating there. And it was the love that I'm like, I mean, I love you, and you know what I'm saying, but
You're saying there's
like,
no judgment there.
it's
And
worse than that. It's
no hell.
nothing.
Yeah.
The only thing that is, there's only like one cosmic Play-Doh.
God is
And
pure love.
What's
What
that?
you're saying is God is this energy of pure love, and that's the healing that we all meet. So, no
Also,
matter who you
what
are,
we all are. That's the thing that
Yeah.
messed me up the most, Trisha. I realized, oh, but I didn't say anything, because I was just like, I think the old Catholic girl in me was like, they're going to make it hell for me for thinking this. It took me weeks to have the guts to even pray silently to God about this. But when I was up there, I realized I had plugged in like a plug to my plug plate. I don't know, the cords and the plugs or whatever. I was like, this cup is a very congealed part of God. And then this water is totally live. Say hello. I put crystals in my water and bake them in my pyramid for different energies. There's nothing that's not God. Even your ex-wife who used to physically beat you to bleeding, and the people who are closest to you in real life, when we're not down here exploring emotional themes, with our soul family. Like, it's like kind of scripted, like, oh, I'll do this so you can experience this. And then you do this to me so I can experience this. It's like that. My uncle and that priest and that man who was helping me and my ex-husband are in real life, which is the timeless God infinity. Those are what we talk about as our closest soul family. Only your closest soul family takes the job of your best friend or your assassin. That is my secret to how it took 4 years, but that's how I forgave my husband. And God, before he booted me over to Jesus, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I think I pouted, which is really ridiculous, but right before he booted me, I remember saying, and I was like, no, who says that? Like, you're with God. Like, it's like, but that's the thing. Like, I talk to God when I am on the toilet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll scream at God. It's you. It's your highest self. I mean, of course, there's like a trickle down here, but like, God is you. God is the highest self, highest whatever of everything. And so it's not like sacrilegious to be like, last week you don't want to hear what I was saying in the kitchen, and I said, okay, God, I promise I will return. And I'm like, who talks like this, right? Like, live transparently. And like, I didn't know what that meant, but I was like, I would rather just pull the ripcord right now, because that's my worst fear ever. But I did. I'm like, I'm not going to promise him. Then he booted me to Jesus. And Jesus floating right there. And I was like, come on. I was like, rich white people, Jesus, really? Because I've always had this thing. I'm like, he's not like this white, hot, like, like sun-kissed, like pretty boy with clean linens on. I'm like, what? There's no way he looked like that. I mean, like, and so I said that. I was like, what? And then I immediately realized, wait, okay. That was, again, for everything that happens is for us. It's not to us. Where Jesus showed up like that, so I could, like, without any misunderstanding, be like, oh, it's Jesus, even if it's the fake white rich Christmas people, right? Rich people Christmas Jesus. He put his hands out like this, and he said, I have a burp coming, so excuse me if it comes in a minute, and I'm going to shut my mouth. It's like sitting right here. But he said, do you want to get well? No, he said, do you want to get better? And after I was like, kind of like being like, oh, okay, Jesus, you really, whatever. Then it's like, I remembered Jesus, and I was like, yeah. And I remembered, just like, remember, we're all here just trying to remember, and remember to the point where we can remember enough to know our special way of being a superhero to other humans or plants or animals, the environment, And I remember Jesus and I are like best friends. And I grabbed both his hands. We were flying through all these colors of green, which is, again, stereotypically heart chakra, healing, Archangel Raphael, the healing, and it's just like, it was like a kaleidoscope of green, and we were like hand in hand, and I was shouting, I'm going to get better as fast as I can. I'm going to get better as fast as I can. And then I want to tell you really quickly, 3 years later, when I was really adept at channeling, he was like, Susan, stop saying I healed you. And I was like, what? And he's like, I was along for the ride like a teddy bear. I was like, you think I healed you? I said, we just had to get you up and out of the, he didn't say congealed, but like the physical, it's not, the congealed physical fray. We had to get you up and out of like the 3D sandbox enough to have you remember what you are, which goes for every single one of us watching, you know? And I just wasn't able to heal myself. Some people are, but for me, I had to like get out of here for a minute and to truth and remember. And then he said, I was like, that was later, but he said, okay, anywhere else you want to go before we go home? And I was like, yes, actually. And I told them this spaceship, because one of my beloved lifelong galactic guides, Perry, and I know I need to wrap up in 2 minutes. I know Perry. I don't know what Perry is, or what, I don't know, but I do know he's not embodied. And I knew if I could get to this one ship, Perry could get into a body and I could like hug him, my beloved Perry. And Jesus was like, no problem. So we're there in front of this huge ship, and there's this like, I don't know, maybe for people like me who like just fly there or something. I don't know, because it's like, it was a very small door for a spaceship. You know, it was like the size of like the French doors right there, you know, and it had a almost like coat of arms. Oh, I like this part. So, and he was like, is this right? Looking, pointing there. He wanted me to check. And so I read it all really quickly. And guess what? It was not mathematics. I was wondering about that. I'm like, how can that be the universal language when like I have no left brain? So it's like the universal language for everyone but sucks at math. It was all symbols. And then boom, I was inside again to make me feel comfortable. And, you know, like, I love NASA, you know, just like told geek, and almost like contact. And this is probably where I got the idea to manifest with him like this. I was in a 1950s gift shop and I was in the corner and I was like, oh, and first I forgot for a second. I was like, look at all these NASA keychains. It was like these keychains. I was like, oh my God. And I was like, wait. And I was like, wait, Perry. And I was looking around, saw him. He was like a couple rows away talking with a customer, which I realize now, I'm like, so I could get my bearings, because I was like, what? But at the time I was like, are you serious? I came all this way and you have a customer line? And he just looked like the guy who wanted to help me get my car. Probably another angel, but he just looked like that guy. He looked like my dad, down to the shirt, the corduroy, like tan pleated front pants, and the nerdy dad shoes. I don't know what they're called, except with another Caucasian man's face, right? It reminded me of Contact, where Jodie Foster, the book is so much better. Jodie Foster, you see this like blurry other galactic creature. I don't mean creature, I'm sorry, but you know, being who comes into this environmentally oxygenated area for her and appears as her dad. And I was just like, Perry, I ran up to him and I was like, and this is weird, I was like, hi, and he's like, hi, we just hugged forever and ever. And then he asked me, so Susan, would you like a part-time job here? And I was like, yes, I would. And then I woke up, shot out of bed. My cane for my upstairs walker, I had a cane, shut up, was like, oh my God, looked at my cane, and I patted it like a dog. I was like, bye-bye, and I hopped out of bed like I was ready to train for the Olympics, just like that. And then I know I went to my blood doctor, like days later, who just came out, and he looked like he was like dazed, and he had all my paperwork, and I was like, okay, because they were about to start chelating my blood was like pure iron. Oh, which is like he said, Susan, I don't know how to explain this, but your blood has no more, he's like, I'm like trying to be all, I don't know why people, whatever, trying to be all like professional and like, I'm sorry, I know it's nice to have, it's great, it's amazing to have manners and to treat everyone kindly. Like, loosen up, dude. Like that's the best news ever. I don't care if you can't explain it. And he's like, I don't know what to say. And I was kind of like on this like hyper kick, and I was like, well, I do. And he was like, what? He was like, he didn't say it like that. He was like, what, whatever. And I was like, well, actually, you're not gonna believe this, but I died and I went up to God and I went up to Jesus. And at the time I said, and Jesus healed me. And I just woke up a couple days later and I'm good. And he had nothing to say. He was like, I think he said, okay. And I was like, thank you. And ran out to my car to start living again. But just so you know, my health tanked again 2 more times. One, a week after this, which felt like, wait, have I been wrong? Are you guys actually punitive? And then in 2020, I almost died again. So I'm just saying, we don't know. But only thing I do know from all of this, even from the pain, the people fleeing like I am a leper from the Bible or something, so much, but it's like, but I know that for the certain kind of woman, I know, I'm like, give me an hour with her and I can help her remember enough to know she is divinely timed and divinely perfect. So just think of your purpose here. Oh,
You don't,
we gotta go.
and to make clear, you don't feel that it is punitive. There is no, and these experiences, health experiences and all that, it's not a punishment for anything, right? It's for us.
But see, it feels like, this is the thing, it can feel like that if you don't collect your courage and pray your butt off and face it. For example, I had to get sober, and then my next challenge, it took me 4 years. But if I had not forgiven my former husband, the road would have ended there for me, because I would have been calcified in resentment. We plan these challenges in a group huddle. What is the emotional theme you want to explore? What about you? What about you? And then we, like a group architect hub, design this contrast or these challenges that are in this dualistic classroom, right? Where the main like instruction tool of instruction is emotion. It's like we come down here and we have mapped out with everyone, like my uncle volunteered, or not, he's not my uncle, but the soul that the part of the soul that is my uncle was like, I will do that. And it's like even up there, it's like, it's no one relishes, but it's like for love. That's why like only your most loving are willing to do things that they know once we're down here are going to feel very painful and make us feel even more disconnected. But those challenges are what we planned. Basically knowing what we were capable of and hoping against hope that we would persevere until we had all of the wisdom, not like parroting, Lao Tzu.
Right.
Your own unique magic comes from going through these challenges that really feel like they're happening to you in the moment, but they're really not. Therefore,
I like what you said about you had to forgive to go to the next level.
No, there's like so many people they'll like still go to yoga and pray, but it's like, you are the divine instrument. And emotionally, you have to think of, if you're a pipe for God to squirt his godness out, that, your version of his godness out, you better have your pipe empty. If you really want to make the biggest impact, you have to take care of your own house and try to keep, and it's not easy. You have to try to keep your resentment and envy and competition and hatred and victim and not fair. I have a big it's not fair-o-meter. All that is clogging up and distorting what you're getting. You know what I'm saying? So, and this is an ongoing, lifelong process where we have to be, and like Wayne Dyer, like, is one of my guides, and Lao Tzu, actually, and Lao Tzu sometimes perches on his lap, on his shoulder, but he'll be like, Wayne Dyer says to me all the time, forget figuring it out. So I have all these Sharpie stickies all over, like even in the middle of my clairvoyant mirror, I meditate to, like FFO, because it's like, if that mattered, you'd know. You now need to work on acceptance and loving detachment, or you're going to stay stuck right here with this big old, like, almost like a heart artery gets plaque. Negative emotion is like plaque in the divine instrument. And so if you're not constantly doing inner work, and the hardest part of it is to do it to yourself.
That is perfect. And we're gonna
yes,
we're gonna stop at that, but that is perfect. The inner work, always the inner work.
always
And forgiveness. I love it.
Thank you.
And I am so glad that you made it.
Me too.
And that so yeah, stick around so that afterwards we'll do more questions at the very end. So thank you so much. It was wonderful. Everybody loved it. And